text, and various other means. We're talking backstage. I'm old enough to remember a decade called the 70s when dinosaurs roamed the earth. You guys remember that? When if somebody called, you didn't know if they called unless they called back. You remember the 70s? Yeah, okay. So we're going to pick one lucky attendee tonight who hates texting, who hates Facebook, who hates Twitter, who will actually be able to ask a question without using any modern technology. I know you're saying, Steve, that's crazy talk. But it could be you, so get excited. And at any point during tonight, you'll be able to text in those questions or Facebook in those questions as well if something fires you up as we go through the issues. And lastly, you'll know we're done when white smoke comes out of the chimney. That's how we all are. Are you ready to meet the fine panelists who have taken time to be here tonight? They were all on the show tonight, and I thought it was a good booking and a nice career break for all of them. First up, a prominent leader who is concerned about the future of this state, former president of Americans for Limited Government, co-founder of the Sam Adams Alliance, founder of the Great Communications Foundation, a regular on Fox News, Fox Business, the BBC, NPR, and great radio stations like my favorite, AM 560, The Answer, the CEO of the Illinois Policy Institute, John Tillman. Next up, a regular who's got an announcement to make tonight, in case you missed it. Former congressman from the 8th. You may remember we do a thing in Illinois called gerrymandering. I don't know who gerrymander was, but he screwed up this state real good. But more on that later. Master's degree in public policy from the University of Chicago, worked with organizations like the Heartland Institute, Jobs for Youth, and the American Education Reform Council. Has received the highest possible rankings on freedom and limited government from Club for Growth, Freedom Works, and Heritage Action. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Joe Walsh. And finally tonight, one of the great radio talents that have ever sat behind a microphone, but he's a triple threat. He sings, he dances. No, he didn't sing and dance. He's a writer, he's a speaker. He has a show that's heard on, at last count, over 200 radio stations across America, and AM 560, certainly happy to be one of them. Almost 5 million listeners around the country listen to him daily. He opens for me. He's thrilled about that. He's a graduate of Yale Law School. I'm not. And the author of multiple New York Times best-selling books, including The 10 Big Lies About America. At the end of tonight, be able to get the book, get it signed, and meet Mr. Michael MEDVED. As I said, they love you, Michael. Keep it going for Michael MEDVED if you want. That's fine.
They're quoting you like the mustache.
Right.
Yeah, as I said, I've already referenced a giant bald spot in the back of my head. Any halo effect from these lights? Not that I'm sensitive in any way, shape, or form. On the screen tonight, as we go along, you'll be able to see text information, but just so you know, 64636. Type in Obama 2. Twitter, folks, it's hashtag Obama and the number 2. I was laughing when we started this because I thought if you go to AM 560 The Answer, the website, 560theanswer.com, and we were telling people to type in the keyword Obama, I thought the website might explode. But we're here, we're thrilled that you're here, and I'm going to throw out topics. I'll direct some of this, but jump in, we'll keep it loose. I know you guys aren't short of opinions. Let's start with the past. Let's start with election 2012. I remember last summer, because I think I'm pretty smart, and I remember last summer being sure that just out of pure selfishness, this country would save itself from a terrible economy and think, you know, I like Obama, he's a swell guy, but he's really ruining my life. What happened? How did we lose?
I'll jump in on that. We lost because if you go back to the debates, how many people remember that first debate? My wife and I were standing up and cheering. Now, and I should, by the way, preface, I'm about to express personal opinions as Citizen Johns. These are not the opinions of the Illinois Policy Institute.
By the way, everything tonight is off the record, and I know none of you will tweet it or say anything about it.
Personal opinions only, not institutional in nature. But, and then, so he had Obama on the ground. He had his foot on his neck because he was making an argument and making a case to the American people, and it resonated. The next two debates, he went into the corner and played rope-a-dope. I think that was a fatal strategic error.
Yeah, first of all, I know that a lot of people believe that, and a lot of people have that assumption. I don't think it's true. I've got to disagree with you. I think the one thing that broke Romney's performance in the second debate was Candy Crowley. And there was nothing, we've never seen anything like that. Never! In the whole history of presidential debates. You're moderating the debate, and you're going to say, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. He's right. Who asked you? She's not a kindergarten teacher, for God's sake. And Romney was going after him on Benghazi, and you could see it was like all of a sudden when the moderator says, no, you're wrong, check the transcript, it's like a pin puncturing him. Look, there are a couple of things. I was so stunned and overwhelmed by the fact that we lost because I expected us to win.
Me too.
I think there might have been a few other people here who also expected Mitt Romney to be. And by the way, how different things would be right now if Mitt Romney were president of the United States. Okay, here is something fascinating. I literally, my wife can tell you, I get up in the middle of the night and I read through exit polls. I have literally...
You're a wild man, Michael.
Yeah, I know. Take a little orange juice and read through exit polls. But here is the most stunning aspect of the exit polls. They asked a question, and this is 300,000 people, right, for the exit polling. So it's pretty authoritative. They asked a question. Was the hurricane a factor in your vote? 64% said yes. 15% said it was the most important factor.
Right.
And they voted 3-1 for Barack Obama. One last thing, and this is, and I'll try to shut up for a moment.
No, I want to come back to that because I think that's an important point.
But here is the other killer. One of the things people say all the time, is that the Republican Party has a problem with young people. And the young people in coalition with people of color and in coalition with gay people and other people, they formed Obama's majority, and it was the young people who did it. 61% of all voters between the ages of 18 and 29 were white, right? They voted by 7 points for Mitt Romney for President of the United States. There is no Republican problem with young people. There is a huge Republican problem with people of color. And that has to be addressed. And the reason that Obama does so much better among young people is because among young people, the percentage of non-whites is much higher. It's 39%, as opposed to 28% of the general electorate.
Yes.
All right, Congressman Walsh, before you answer, because I want you to get in on this, in case somebody who wasn't listening tonight, I'll need a note from your mother, but tonight at 6:07, Congressman Walsh finally revealed what he'll be doing with his life starting in January? On March 25th. You have a job.
I have a job.
And that job is?
I will be following you on the radio every night, 7 to 9 p.m. Very excited.
Well, you know I like to give you a hard time, and I'm the big brother you never wanted. But I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled because I think two things can happen. One, people can get a chance to really know you as opposed to MSNBC's definition of you and the Tribune and the Sun-Times definition of you. I think that's important, but it also continues to give you a public voice because even after a couple of years, I don't think Illinois and the country knows who you are. So we're thrilled. We're lucky to have you, and we're glad you're going to be doing it.
Thank you, Steve. I'm excited. I'll add the...
Yeah, why'd we lose, Mr. Smart Guy?
I will add to what Michael and John said. I think Romney lost it earlier than that first debate. And I agree with John with most of what you said about the first debate and his performance in the second debate. But, and I think everybody up here agrees with this, there wasn't enough fight in Romney. There wasn't a sense of urgency like we are this close to losing God's greatest gift to humanity. You never got that sense. And all throughout the campaign, even before the first debate, once it became clear that Romney was our nominee, I wish he'd come out swinging from the very beginning. And President Obama very smartly spent a lot of money that summer defining Mitt Romney in a few key states. So I wish Romney from the beginning had come out and made the case as to why this is so important that Obama doesn't get another 4 years. And I just don't think he did that in a real captivating manner.
Two follows on what's come up already. We haven't talked about the third debate. I thought Romney made a huge mistake by playing rope-a-dope in the third debate, the foreign policy debate, because momentum matters. And going with what Michael said statistically about exit polls, the closer to the election, people make decisions. That third debate impressions that were left, even though you'll remember it was a football night and there were distractions, were that Romney, he wasn't as bad as the president was in the first one. How could he be? But in that third debate, he took a lot of punches as opposed to punching back. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think just quickly, I think the Romney campaign made a calculated mistake, but they made a decision that they wanted him to come across as very genteel and acceptable to folks in the middle. And I think a big part of what they forgot was he didn't excite enough. See, I think a lot of us, I certainly felt this way, Michael. I felt that the country, Steve, was so upset with where Obama was taking us that would carry us to victory. I think a lot of Republicans felt that way. I think a lot of people on Romney's team felt that way.
Well, if we go with the notion that you guys are as smart as I think you are, and I truly do believe this. I believe the people in this room and the people that listen to Michael and I, the people that will be listening to Joe, you're smart, you're driven, you care about the future of this country. The vast majority of people that vote once every 4 years aren't so smart. They can't, well, go ahead, applaud the stupid if you want, because you're right. Because realizing it, you got to admit you have a problem before you deal with it. So if we literally, and I don't doubt your math, Michael, if we literally have a country that waited around and saw that President Obama, such a swell guy, was in New Jersey, and he gave Governor Christie a hug, so therefore he's the guy I got to vote for. I think it was the great philosopher Larry the Cable Guy that said, you can't fight stupid. So what do we do about that going forward?
I think we have to face the truth about what's going on. The progressives have an amazing coalition, public sector unions, private sector unions, the trial bar, the green extremists, and all the nonprofits that feed off government. They have an annual annuity called union dues to fund their perpetual political operation, and they are waging a disinformation campaign relentlessly to change culture and thus change politics. And unless we on the right find a way to organize and counter that, we're going to have difficult times. And the best illustration of this, I talked to a relative of mine who's 30, college educated, bright in every respect, only one in the family that voted for Obama, and asked why. And she regurgitated to me and her two cousins all the talking points in the disinformation campaign as if she was fully indoctrinated. And she believed the truth about what they said about Obama and the distortions about what she perceived, or the truth regarding Romney and Obama's distortions of his own record. And until we compete for mind share like that, we're going to have a challenge. I think we have to marshal resources to compete beyond talk radio. And by the way, I just want to say to the general manager of WIND, I realize I'm the only one here without a talk show, and I am available.
Well, listen, John, by 9 o'clock, depending on how this goes, I mean, come on. Michael, let me give you a last word on this, in the interest of time. Last word on where we are here.
Sure, I kind of sort of disagree.
I'm going to do that all night, Michael.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why. If you look again at the way that this election turned out, there's so many myths about it. And unfortunately, conservatives are not low information voters. We can't afford to be. We need to know the truth. One of the myths that you hear, and you hear it not on our station, but you hear it on another station in town all the time, is the myth of the missing 4 million Republican voters. What happened to those missing 4 million Republican voters? Where'd they go? It's like the lost colony of Roanoke. They vanished. They disappeared. Guess what? There were no missing Republican voters. Romney got 1 million more votes than McCain. Obama got 4 million less votes than he did the first time. And by the way, the percentage of conservatives who voted this time, in 2008 and in 2004, 34% of the electorate was conservative. This time it was 35%. Romney had higher support among Republicans, 93%, as opposed to John McCain's 90%. The problem with this election was 100% the president's despicable, hateful, vile division of the United States according to race. And it was all racial. By the way, these numbers are not approximations. These are the exact numbers. And again, exit polling is 300,000 people. People know. We know who voted, why they voted, where they voted, how. And this is how. 72% of all people who voted in this election were white. They chose Mitt Romney by 20 points, 60 to 40. That's all white people, including gay people, including among white Catholics, right? Congratulations to Pope Francis. Among white Catholics, Romney won almost 2-1. He lost the Catholic vote because of the Latino vote. He lost the election because of the Latino vote. If Mitt Romney had gotten the same 44% of the Latino vote and Asian vote that George W. Bush got, he would have won over 400 electoral votes and he would have carried California.
But you're making my point. Those people are succumbing to the disinformation campaign of the Obamas and the Obama's campaign, the progressives.
Well,
That's the point I'm making.
you got the problem of a dishonest campaign, a dishonest president, and an uninformed, and disinterested public. And the problem of color we'll get back to. Otherwise, we're going to do in one issue for the entire night. And we have to solve America by 9 o'clock, okay?
See,
You have 30 seconds. I don't have to treat you like a congressman. Just follow me.
The conundrum of how he can win, presiding over the worst recovery since the Great Depression. Yes, it's a despicable campaign that President Obama ran, but we cannot ignore the other half of the equation. It worked with people.
Absolutely.
And I know politicians are loath to say this, but we say it. There are too many people in this country who are uninformed, uneducated, lazy, distracted, too stupid, and we've got to figure out how to reach these people, but we have to acknowledge they're there, and too many of them do not vote Republican.
All right, quickly. Thank you. Quickly, just as a game. Romney the best of a bad list of campaigners and candidates? In other words, is anybody who actually ran, or anybody that should have run, could they have won last year? Total speculation.
I think he was the best nominee by far out of the field that actually ran.
I concur with that.
Who was better?
Yeah, you know, what's interesting is they just asked Jeb Bush, who's going around and there's a possibility to run for 2016.
Hey, whoa.
Yeah, they asked Jeb Bush whether he thought he could have won in 2012, and he said he thought he could have. Now, could he have run stronger than Romney? I think so.
Yes.
I do.
So
And I'll tell you, and again, I won't promise this is the last exit poll bit of data, but here's the truth: is they did, one of the things they asked about is what was the most important quality you were looking for in a candidate. The most important quality. When it came to strong leadership, Romney won by 23 points. When it came to vision for the country, Romney won by 9 points. When it came to shares my values, Romney won by 13 points. There's only one characteristic where people preferred Obama. Understands people like us. And by the way, we cannot hope to bring people into the Republican fold if we call them stupid and lazy.
No,
That's for this room.
No, I know, Michael. This is a great point. We have to be honest with the American people, and you're right. Tone here is so important.
Yeah, but we're going to get to tone.
Okay.
I don't want to cut you off,
But this is.
listen, don't make me come over there.
Let me back up. I don't want to be in the way of that.
Let's talk about people of color and the need to do better in that area, because I totally agree. This whole notion of let's round them up and bus them back and all the language Language sticks to tape. Language matters. We'll get to that, I promise. But let's talk about immigration for a second. We've heard about the Gang of Eight policy. We've heard a number of different ideas. We continue to talk. What should immigration reform look like? Let me start with you, Congressman, because you've been in those meetings in the House.
I think the only kind of immigration reform we should pass and probably can pass this year is an immigration reform that secures the borders and does nothing else right now. This whole notion, and again, I know tone is important, and we've got to reach out to Hispanics and Latinos, but polls tell us right now the biggest issue of concern to Hispanics and Latinos is jobs, healthcare, Obamacare. It's not immigration. How we talk about immigration is terribly important. But you can, when I hear the words comprehensive reform, I want to run for the hills. We have to secure the borders first. And I think if we can do that, if we can at least demonstrate that we can do that, you can see Republicans and Democrats come together on broader reform as a next step.
My problem is, and you guys, I want you to chime in on this, I don't have the faith in the body you just left of getting anything done if it involves securing the borders first and getting to the rest later.
And if they do
I think
anything
the time has passed to take this issue seriously.
And Steve, if they do anything that involves the word comprehensive, I'll be scared to death.
Well, what's between comprehensive and let's get it done?
Do your job. Secure the
Well,
border.
the thing we're talking about, this is what's going to sound like every night at 6:45, by the way. The thing that you're talking about in particular, doesn't that send a message that we're putting up the fence and keeping the neighbors out?
No, well, or change the laws and don't make it illegal to walk across the border. As long as you have a law that says it's illegal to cross the border, enforce it.
Why can't
Or your body politic should change that law.
But why-
I don't know why that's hard to understand. And by the way,
Don't you talk about
No, hold on.
Securing the borders is key, but securing the borders is part A of a multi-part thing. I don't think you do one and then get to the rest
yes,
later.
but if you put it all together in a comprehensive package, it will fail, and the security piece of it will go out the window like it has in the past. And you'll break trust again. This is such a sensitive issue. Let's make sure we get it right.
You're assuming we have trust, John.
Yeah, I would look at this a little differently. First of all, from the Republican point of view, it seems to me they should establish what their vision and policy is on the broad idea of immigration. And in my view, which might not be popular with everybody here, is the Republican Party should be the party pro-immigration. We want people to come here pursuing legally, absolutely legally, pursuing the founding principles of this country, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and establish their version of the American dream, but under the American guiding principles. What we're doing by doing it the way we are now is letting them be assimilated into the progressive mindset. We want people to come here and be assimilated the way it was done for all the generations that have let all of us in this room be here, which is come and pursue the American dream with all those amazing things that create American exceptionalism. We should be the party championing that. And not just people coming from Mexico and Central America, but people that want to come from Eastern Europe and all over the world. We should, the whole H-1B, it's a hard thing to say, but the visa program is not letting highly skilled workers, that has a quota on highly skilled workers who want to come here. We're sending people that we educate.
That's what I'm talking about. Lead on the issue. Even let the Canadians in.
Exactly. Like the Canadians, and we need more hockey players.
The Republican Party doesn't need to be the party of immigration, but we should be the party of Americanization. And that is completely crucial, because it's the other side, and this was Obama's victorious strategy in the election, is slice up the electorate into Asians here and Latinos here and undocumented here and black people here. We are all Americans, no hyphenated Americans. It is impossible to take that stand. It is impossible to credibly be that party, the party of Americanization, the party of assimilation, the party of joining our country and joining this great adventure called America, if you are saying to people who have lived here in some cases for many years that there is nothing you can do to make up for the wrongdoing that initially brought you to the United States. There has to be some way, as there is for every crime. We allow people to pay a debt for murder, right? And then they can come back into society, and it happens for murder. For the infraction, it's not a misdemeanor, it's not a felony. For the infraction, of crossing the border without authorization. There has to be a way that you can make up for it, you can pay a fine, you can do penance of some kind, and become part of the American dream if you want to be.
And by the way, create a stream of revenue in a country that's financially upside down. Legal folks paying taxes, paying for their health care, whatever that looks like, and we'll get to it. Yeah, we got to get the big picture here, guys.
I'm just curious, how many people agree with what Michael just summarized?
Here, here.
How many people disagree? Okay, I think we have a ways to go, but I'm encouraged by that because I obviously agree with that, and I think that, I just think about my grandparents who came over, and I'm so grateful they did, and I think that the point you make about Americanization, that's what I meant by pursuing life, liberty, and happiness, and under the founding principles, the guidance of that is just critical to the future of the country for another reason. White birth rates are down to about 1.6 in America. It takes 2.1 to
That's
reproduce.
because white folks are up at 3 in the morning looking at exit polls.
Well, exactly.
Congressman, I'm not getting off the topic.
Michael, we do have 3 kids. That's
Would have 5.
Ultimately, we're going to arrive at a place that Mr. Medved is advocating we arrive at. All I'm saying is, you're not going to get there until this country gets serious about the border. And again, this is a lovely place. I'm glad, by the way, we're up here at Viper Alley.
How about it for Viper Alley, right?
This is not the border down in Arizona or Texas. In many parts of that border, it's like a war zone down there. And John, how many people in this audience are anti-immigrant? Nobody in this country is anti-immigrant. But we're a country of laws, and there are a lot of people in this country that are anti-illegal immigrants.
There are people.
And you can't...
Listen, there's something wrong. The word illegal is right.
We
should never welcome the word illegal to be, well, it's okay if that happens. But you have to give folks an opportunity to get it right. All right, let's move. DREAM Act. DREAM Act, Gang of 8. DREAM Act, you're under the age of 18. You didn't ask to be born here, you're born here. Should you have an opportunity first to become a legal citizen and therefore get into college and then move on and contribute to America in a positive and legal way? Your thoughts on the DREAM Act?
I think if you serve in the military, yes. I think if you give any more incentive than that, no.
John?
I don't have a problem with it conceptually.
Michael?
Look, if you're saying to people right now that you were brought here below the age of 16, you've kept your nose clean, you have gone to school, you graduated from high school, you are pursuing education beyond that, what do we want from these people? Seriously, what is it you expect? You expect them to go to our universities, go to our colleges, and then move somewhere else? Why do we want to expel people who are graduating from colleges? In other words, the idea that, and this is the core issue on this immigration, and why Marco Rubio and Raul Labrador, your colleague, another Tea Party,
great guy.
Raul is a great guy. He's a Tea Party conservative from Idaho, Mexican-American.
An immigration lawyer.
And an immigration lawyer. And he has crafted, by the way, I think a better alternative than the Gang of 8. Because his alternative has a very strong trigger. It addresses exactly what Joe was talking about, which is that once we have made some progress on this, we really have. The flow across the border has slowed dramatically. There are people who are going back to Mexico. A lot of that's economic.
Yes.
A lot of that's economic. But the point is that once you have a trigger mechanism that says that you do something only when the border is secure, you need to have that as part of any immigration reform. And I'll tell you why. Because otherwise you're talking about 11 or 12 million people who are here. And what are you going to do, ignore them? The current situation is awful. It's awful to have 11 million people without legal status.
And by the way, the Republican Party is being blamed for the current situation. That's my mantra. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about border security being a bad idea. Again, what you said, Joe, tell it to the people in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas that live through those problems and live on the border. But I just don't believe the Congress that I'm looking at is going to do one piece at a time. And I think just doing border security in the short window we have run up to the next election is going to send a very bad message. Do it all. Or do enough of it where you're showing that the Republican Party cares about what Michael was just talking about.
Well, if